Imagine an all-natural extract that harnesses the power of time, the mysteries of nature, and the quality of age-old traditions in one small bottle. We live in an age where science and sustainability are inseparable, where technology and tradition work hand in hand, where consumers demand that cost-cutting never compromises quality. Our biotech oak extraction is revolutionizing the alcoholic beverage industry. We use 150-year-old French and 90-year-old American oak wood in a molecular extraction process that develops our unique congeners and stabilizers. Our 100% natural USA and EU organic certified products are used by brewmasters globally. Brewshield and WineShield preserve the unique flavors of beer and wine and extend shelf life. Let us enhance, preserve, and transform the way you do business. The future of brewing and stabilization technology is here. And it starts with Stoke.
Matt and Chris and Tom are going to have a discussion around the application of the beer, application of Brewshield, how it's being used, some of the benefits they've seen, and also some of the other applications. You're welcome. There's a Q&A. If you have any questions, please go ahead and we'll answer as many as we can. As I said, you're welcome to contact us afterwards too. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Very informative. So like Andrew said also, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A section. You can type in your questions if you have them. As we go along, you're going to hear from myself, Chris Anderson, Tom Twee, about some applications that we've used Brewshield on in the past. A little bit about me, if you are unfamiliar with who I am. I was the brewmaster of brewery operations across Strauss for 12 years, and recently have been brought on at John Fearless as a technical manager of technical brewing and key accounts. I used Brewshield in the brewery when I was at Carl Strauss, and it worked quite well. Did everything that Andrew said, and one of the things I used it for is I found that as we were doing our 22-ounce beer applications for some of our seasonal varieties, specifically our double IPA, we were finding that not only did our bottling equipment have to be switched from 12 to 22 ounce. I'm sure some of you know that hell that is that part of brewing, but it also kind of messed with our DOs that we got in the 22 ounce bottle. So we were looking for something to really help control that DO pickup as we bottled our 22 ounce bottle selection. Our double IPA especially, we noticed that after a good 30 days of either sitting in the warehouse or sitting at our supply chain, that we'd start noticing a slight oxidized, that sweet nectar, that papery note that you get with oxidized beer. And we'd also notice that the aroma and flavor of the hops was starting to diminish quite rapidly after that 30 days. We had a 90-day shelf life for that beer. So we started seeing that a lot of the beer after 30 days would deteriorate so much that we couldn't really sell it anymore or have it on the shelf because it was not representing our brand quite the way we wanted it to. So, and talking with Andrew a few years ago, we decided to bring in Brewshield to see what it would do specifically with our double IPA to kind of help retain some of the aroma qualities, some of the bittery flavor, and kind of knock down some of that oxidized aroma and flavor that we got just in the process of bottling. And it significantly helped that double IPA. It really took, like Andrew said, it took about double the time to really see an effect of any aging on that beer. So it went from at least 30 days to when you'd start noticing to at least 60, and a lot of the product would make it to our 90-day shelf life code, which was good. It saved us a lot of time in brewing, a lot of cost in brewing, packaging. We didn't have to brew as much as fast because it wouldn't deteriorate as quick. And we can get through the entire batch of our double IPA before we needed to brew another one, which saved a ton of money on the bottom line. So the product does work. I've tasted it in some other beers also, and I've tasted beers that we've done trials on with Brewshield in it as opposed to without Brewshield in it, and there's a significant difference on the beer quality, the beer taste as you taste the beers with Brewshield in it. So, like Andrew said, it does really help stabilize your beer. It helps the shelf life. I know a lot of people have trouble with supply chain and keeping, your distributor holding his feet to the fire and keeping your beer cold. And I know it's almost impossible to do that. And there are a lot of retail outlets that don't store beer cold. And that just kind of knocks everybody's beer flavor down, whether it's a Pilsner to an IPA to a double IPA to a porter. And with Brewshield, we found that through our distributor chain, it really helped prolong the shelf life of our beer. So when our customer tasted our beer that maybe it was 45 to 60 days, it was tasting almost as fresh as it was coming out of the brewery. And we didn't lose customers as much. That's one thing. You only get one chance really to impress the customer. If they taste your beer and they don't like it, I guarantee you they're not going to buy it again and they will remember it. If they do like it, they will tell their friends and they will continue to buy your brand beer because they had a good experience the first time. I know Chris and Tom also kind of feel the same way. Chris usually has a couple different applications. He works a lot with the non-alcoholic beer and a lot of the cannabis or CBD products that are out there now. And he has some really good insight on how Brewshield can help in those applications as well. So go ahead, Chris.
Hey guys, those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Chris Anderson, and I've been in the industry for about 25 years. I was the founder of the Coachella Valley Brewing Company back in 2012, and in the last few years, my focus has been working as a consultant, mostly in R&D facet with John Fearless. And when the Stoke team came aboard, I was just thoroughly enamored by this product and immediately dove into the trialing process with our various customers, and I've been intimately involved with that from day one. I'd say in the very beginning, most of our focus was around much what Matt alluded to, which is IPA, aroma stability, flavor stability. And in the early years, in 2018 and 2019, most of what we did was basically trying to show customers that this product worked through the trialing process. And typically what we found is we could easily double whatever. I mean, most brewers, like my brewery was no different than Matt's. I had a 90-day shelf code on my double IPA, but I knew very well myself I didn't want to drink it after 30 days. It definitely diminished in quality and flavor. But it is what it is. We all know the way distribution chains work. By the time I landed my product at my distributor's doorstep, it was already 2 weeks old. So unfortunately for us, 30 or 45 day, I would say, I knew that I wasn't winning very many customers with my double IPA in the condition it was, based on the changing of temperatures and in and out ingress of coolers and moving in and out of trucks. But as we've kind of moved on and things have evolved in the industry, more later on, we've kind of seen the advent of non-alcoholic beers becoming really, really popular and gaining a lot of momentum. And they were really looking for stability in that product. They're even more fragile than beers that have alcohol because of obviously the microbial thwart that having alcohol in a beer can provide. So we started playing in that realm with a couple breweries, specifically Surreal and Bravas Brewing Company, who are two pretty high velocity brands here in Southern California and Northern California. And they really found tremendous value in this product. A lot of times what happens is when things go sideways and you discover it and you want to mitigate any damage it caused, you have to go back and play the chop game with your distributor. And oftentimes it's kind of a meet in the middle kind of things that happen, and both entities lose, and there's bad blood there involved. Even if the distributor has over ordered, there still has to be some kind of compromise there. And it really, nobody wins in this situation. And in the non-alcoholic realm, it can happen even faster. These beers can deteriorate much, much faster. So what we found is we're getting stability not only in the actual flavor component, but also in aroma and color stability. We have a couple customers, one specifically that has this beautiful magenta blood orange product, and for the first 60 days it has this gorgeous color, but just this miraculous thing happens at around 60 75 days, and that product turns this really horrible gray looking color, and obviously nobody wants to buy it at that point. We have another customer that's using mango in pretty heavy quantities, and it has this gorgeous golden hue, and it does much of the same thing, looks like dead yeast after about 60 days. And what we found was building this product into their process as soon as possible. Obviously, these are not beers that I'm referring to, but rather seltzers. As soon as we can get it into the process, the better, so that it can basically act to mitigate any of the DO ingress that can happen during transfer, filtration, or any other potential problematic area in the process. Those are some of the main focuses of my efforts lately. We've also kind of started to get into the cannabis and CBD industry, and what we found is in both of those facets that the emulsions that are being employed these days to make the cannabis oil soluble or the CBD oil soluble really don't play well with oxygen. And what oxygen does is it can actually force that product out of solution and precipitate it out and glue it to the bottom of the can or bottle, which will really be a negative impact and will act much as the silent killer does in the craft beer industry with the cannabis industry and the CBD industry. If they don't feel it and don't see any positive effects from consuming it, they flat out won't buy it again, and they're going to tell other customers, hey, that stuff doesn't work. So those are just some of the trials and tribulations that I've experienced. I definitely believe in the product. I believe in the science. And I can honestly say that the team is really wonderful to work with. I've learned a ton from them in terms of understanding the science and the chemistry behind it. And I'd be happy to share any knowledge with any of you guys if you have any questions that you might have. I'll pass it on to Tom.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. And folks, thank you for calling in and for the interest. So some of my background, I started in 2002 in the industry, and I have been, in front of food safety and quality and brewing and some innovation processes for, that long. And so one of the things that I used to do with one of my former employers, Anheuser-Busch, is I used to design many experiments on thermal degradation and shelf life, by running the freshness program for that company. And, basically the holy grail is to, figure out how to prevent changeovers and how to avoid them at least. I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to change your line over every now and then, but, the focus on freshness for that company, and also, continuation of that work when I moved on to Stone was even accelerated because at the time, we were producing flat out and things were just basically selling themselves. But when you get to the point where share of throat and competition and everything pops up, which is healthy for the industry, and we enjoy that. But then there's, you have to figure something else out, with your distributors, meaning like you have to start to think about shelf code. When they're selling a lot more labels, a lot more IPAs, they may not cycle through yours as quickly as they used to. And so what we decided to do is have a really hard look at, again, thermal degradation and final freshness of all of our beers with the complete intention of trying to extend our shelf life and date code. Because I know a lot of you folks will see with your distribution channels that if you have a 60-day code or a 90-day code, if it's already got 30 days gone on it, they probably won't order it. And so that was part of our exercise and some of our motivation to get something going. So, what I ended up doing is the looking at some of the cost analysis, if we're able to extend runs, if I can only get 90 days out of my IPA, what I need to do is figure out how to get it, how to get it to be fresher longer. If I can figure out how to get fresher longer by using Brewshield, or by changing up my line or buying like a whole new filler, obviously it's cost prohibitive. I need to make some changes. So what we decided to do is do a quick cost analysis. And so, for a press out, let's say in a scenario where you're, going to package probably 4 pallets of finished beer. I started to calculate out, how much press out, how much deaerated water, maybe chem flush and CO2 purges, and then your beer packs. So if you do a DAW flush of 15 hex, you do like a chem flush, usually peracetic acid, let's call that 10 hex. And then your CO2 purge and beer pack, usually your first couple of bowls are sent to the line. 60 cases a pallet, 12 ounce cans, 1,440 cans. It's about 5 hectoliters per pallet, or 20 hex of packaged beer that you made in that run. Now, if you did 20 hex of beer, you, in the meantime, lost 15 hex of water, 10 hex of chem, and had all the conversion of, having to change over the line, because again, you can't really make more beer because it'll code out by the time it gets around to the distributorship. So we, with that in mind, just a quick cost. Now, I'll take a step back and say that each one of those calculations will have to be done by each brewer because all the line designs will be different. But in my experience, those are pretty accurate and pretty typical numbers. If you can avoid doing all those conversions, you save all those costs. And I don't think that Ender baked that into, the amount of money that it takes to run beer. But in my world as a VP of operations now, it's something that I think a lot about. And so, look, after we prove this out here locally, after running a full design of experiments, and I guarantee you that we're going to start to, get longer runs. I do some brand changes where I only do like half a pallet and then have to move on because that's what the orders are. The fear is that they will cycle out and they'll code out and I'll have to buy it back eventually. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. Very much excited about the opportunity to use it. And then to start to extend my shelf codes, because if I can get like say 3 straight shifts on the same brand, because I know the beer is going to be good, for that long, then that's everything that a distributor wants. That's everything that a customer wants. And that's everything that I want. And so in that scenario, everybody wins. But, if anybody wants to have a conversation on the side about that, or even after the meeting or anytime during the week, totally open, and we can kind of cost it all out, and I can kind of step through if anybody needs help on, the DOE or, how to do like a, a full freshness analysis of your program. I'm all ears and I'd love to help out.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Chris. I think, you've heard from everybody. We're going to open up to Q&A. I just want to highlight one very important aspect of this, and that comes down to if you do intend running a trial. What we found too often is the trial being run, and then once it's been done, a couple of things have not. It's important that the trial is done correctly. It's dosed at the correct place. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to have a control. And the reason you want to have a control, even though you know your beers, is that you need to see the difference between the control and the treated beer, and it's significant. The other thing that we ask is that you put the beer through its paces. Don't put it into a refrigerated environment for 3 months and then test it. Stick it in your brewery, leave it outside, put it in the sun, and really put it through its paces with a control so that you know that within 60 or 90 days that other beer is broken, in other words. And then test it at 60 days, 90 days, up to 180 days, and you'll see a huge difference. We've got a number of customers who've done it this way, and every time we've not yet to have a problem. The only time we've ever run into any issues is if the evaluation is not done correctly, in other words, against the control or something similar. But more importantly, that the beer has not been allowed to be put through what we call real market conditions. In other words, it sat on a retail floor, it's getting exposed to different temperatures and movement and all the other aspects that could lead to the onset of oxidation. So I just wanted to list that. And again, Chris has come across it numerous times before in terms of some of the trials we're running. So the other thing just to mention is that it comes in 5-liter containers, 25-liter containers, 1,000-liter totes, and it's it's very easy to use. Right, I'm going to open it up to any questions. I see Ryan Wex has got a question, and that question is in and around from the MBAA, which is we were there too at around tannic acid usage as an antioxidant for beer stability. Chris is going to talk about that too. I just want to make mention about tannins because tannins comes up quite a bit. Tannins are not necessarily what brewers want to understand, but if you go and look at tannins are around, there are a number of other tannins. You get tannins in strawberries and chocolate and all sorts of other tannins which are not astringent and don't add any astringency to them. Because there are two types of tannins that you get. You get condensed tannins and you get hydrolyzable tannins. And they're very different, even though they're both from plants, they're very different tannins. Brewshield form, because we're an oak extract, and it's an extract of wood, it falls under, it's a liquid tannin too. So it also falls under the category of a liquid tannin, and the science behind it as a powerful antioxidant has been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, specifically in the wine industry. So Ryan, to answer your question, absolutely it's a difference, but adding tannic acid, in most cases, it's used as a powder, and there are all sorts of potential challenges that you get with that. So your dosing is not necessarily as easy. You have to dose it at very specific points as well, whereas this can be added at numerous places. We suggest the whirlpool. And one of the other, something that's also very important just to consider here is that it's also, you need consistency for ensuring that you have the same product every single time. But I'm going to let Chris talk a little bit to that around tannic acid. Chris, can you see the question here?
Yeah, I saw it. I think the other part too is with Brewshield, we wanted it to be as seamless as possible. We didn't want it to come in and interrupt existing brewing operations and your existing production regime on brew day. So incorporating it into a normal whirlpool is very easy to integrate into your existing operational approach to brewing. Most every brewer either has a whirlpool or has a whirlpool function on their actual kettle. So adding it to incorporate it is very easy. And all we're trying to achieve there is making a broad stroke approach that can work at virtually any size brewery from a nano all the way up. And our goal is just to get this product fully homogenized in the liquid as soon as possible. That's not to say that, going back to what Andrew said earlier, that you couldn't add it in the mash. In fact, when we met with UC Davis and Charlie Banforth, basically said hot side aeration starts to occur in the mash. And he said, most breweries nowadays are pretty sophisticated, and it's not like it was when I started brewing in the late 1990s, where you were hand mashing and everything was sloshing around, and there was a lot of hot side aeration going on. Things have very much improved in technology and our approach and what we know about that. But that being said, we do have a couple customers that have brewers that are a little overzealous in their mash-in protocols and tend to splash things around. And these guys, upon evaluation, were finding that they were getting high HSA numbers and basically have then integrated the product into the mash. That being said, it's our reason for not recommending it is it's very cost prohibitive. Obviously, a lot of that product is going to be absorbed into the spent grain and relatively form as a loss. So, and then you're also going to have to add and incorporate more product back to the whirlpool to account for that, whatever 30 or 40% loss that you're typically going to see go into the spent grain. But we don't have to filter out Brewshield. Whereas if you're using any of the other tannic acid compounds or finishing tannins in your beer to try and achieve this, you're really going to you're fixing a problem by adding a problem. Everybody knows that filtration is inherently going to increase your DO numbers. At my brewery and the previous breweries I've worked at, we would see anywhere from 10 to 15 ppb, even with a purged system. So anyways, that's kind of that piece.
And just one last comment on that, which is, what packaged beer is. we're seeing that right across the board, and packaged beer being sat around for a lot longer and being able to be moved. One of the distributors that we had a conversation with, their question is, is having an additional period of time that they have to be able to move the beer. Just by being, instead of having 15 days, by having an additional month makes a huge difference to their business too. So it's an additional value add that you can have for all of your distributors.
Yeah, and when we went in past companies, when we extended by say 30 days, sometimes you feel like there's some trepidation there, some fear that you're just kind of like getting away with one there. We were sending them some samples and challenging them with some sets of beer that was up to 180 days old, and they a lot of times they couldn't tell. We did some consumer research things too, where we got it in front of a lot of the fans, extension of a date code for the distributorship. They welcome that completely, so there's really no pushback on those things, and so I think it's a good for all around.
I'm not sure if there are any other questions out there, Ryan. If hopefully we've answered your question, we're welcome to send you any additional information you would like. We actually have a paper published on tannins. If anyone's interested in that, you can get hold of me. And this was published in conjunction with a number of industry professionals too. Right. Just from my side, we've probably got about 10 minutes left. So unless there are any other questions, this video is going to be made available. If you have any colleagues who were unable to attend or would like to see it, let me know and I'll send it to you. It'll also be put up onto the Brewshield website, so you're welcome to go and watch it and download it there as well. And it'll be up by the end of the week. Any other questions, please get hold of these guys directly too. So from my side, I just want to thank you all for attending. Thank you, Chris, Matt, and Tom for being on our panel and for the support and the information you're able to give us.
Great. Thank you to everybody for taking the time to come up. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Andrew or anyone on the sales team for John Fearless. The email addresses were in the presentation that Andrew is going to send out to everybody or has available. Check out Brewshield website or johnfearless.com also to get more information on Brewshield or to ask any questions. But thanks everyone for taking the time to be on today.
Right. Thank you.